So what I thought would be useful today, man, is to go over a really quite common, but really, really important misconception about enlightenment. So people, you get this idea, man, that enlightenment is like just this one-time thing that happens. Like, you're not enlightened, then you get enlightened, and now you're enlightened. That's not the case. The more you look into this work, man, the more you realize that enlightenment is a state of consciousness. Usually, you're in a human state of consciousness, an egoic state of consciousness, which is pretty fucking low. It means you're identified with your mind, it means your thoughts seem real, it means this human material reality is very, very real. However, the more you do the work, the more you realize, you kind of push the ceiling a bit. The more you realize, oh wow, there's more to this. Wow. And you start to have these little moments, these little glimpses, experiences, maybe even awakenings where it's really high up your consciousness. And what you learn, man, is that enlightenment is not a one-time thing, brother. No. Enlightenment is a state. And it's an extreme, the scale is infinite. Right? So you can be in an enlightened state. You can also come out of that and drop back down. Right? Some teachers describe it like a dial of consciousness. To turn that dial up, if you do so, you will become more God. Right? God, the amount of God you will have within you, so to speak, will be off the charts because you're turning up that consciousness dial. Right? But the thing is though, man, is it possible to have a spontaneous enlightenment where suddenly, just have a random collapse of your sense of self and boom, you're just infinite? Sure, man. Ramana Maharshi is often cited as someone who's had that, right? You just bang, enlightened. It can happen, it's spontaneous. I think Eckhart Tolle had a similar thing where he was just, I cannot live with myself anymore, bang. I think it was that. A sudden enlightenment, right? A permanent shift. But for most of us, for most people I've spoken to, and myself included, enlightenment is a gradual thing. It's something that you keep chipping away at your ego, you keep raising your consciousness, you keep exploring these different states, these different awakened, altered states of consciousness. And you say, wow, there's different elements of enlightenment, there's different facets of it. Wow, I can realize that I'm infinite, I can realize that I'm God, I can realize that I'm metaphysical. There's so much to it. And it's very, very simple-minded and completely incorrect to say, man, that enlightenment is a one-time thing. It's just a misconception that we're fed about enlightenment. And I'm saying, brother, it's not the case. You can do the work yourself and you can just realize this, man. It doesn't take too long. Maybe within the first year or two, you could probably get it, man. That, okay, enlightenment is if I'm going to do this, it's a state of mind or consciousness. If I ever say state of mind, and I'm talking about something very spiritual, understand that what I mean by that is that mind, it's got a capital M, a big M. It means mind as an absolute, right? So mind as consciousness. Mind, when capitalized as an absolute, it means the same thing as consciousness. It's like when some spiritual teachers say, all is mind, or all you are is mind. They're talking about that big M, that mind, that big universal M, mind, right? So the work that we've got to do, man, it's a bit weird because on the one hand, we've got to drop our expectation of this sudden enlightenment. But on the other hand, dude, you can still keep your mind open to that possibility, right? Sometimes, and this actually happens quite a lot for me, man, my state of consciousness is raised sometimes when I least expect it. Or better yet, when I am least trying, right? So often right before I go to bed, man, I just have really, really, really interesting awakenings. Like, not like psychedelic awakenings, not like profound metaphysical awakenings, but pretty profound metaphysical awakenings, pretty cool states of consciousness, right? It's almost like when you least expect it sometimes, because the ego is just not even engaged in material survival. It's very quiet and calmed and just, the ego is about to go to bed. Let me just sneak in this awakening right before, perfect. A little bit of God before bed. My favorite, man. If anything, actually, I actually recommend that, man. I actually recommend you meditate, contemplate, and introspect before you go to bed. This is one of the best times to have higher state of consciousness, because the day is done. You've survived the day. Now, just before you go to bed, invite a bit of God in. Invite a higher consciousness state. That I love that. It's the best way to fall asleep, man. It's so nice when you drift from this God state into sleep. Really, consciousness doesn't go anywhere, but that's a whole other thing. We'll talk about that in the future. It's a beautiful thing. I really recommend trying. Anyway, man, the main message: open your mind to what enlightenment means, what it could be, and scrap the idea that it's just like some one-time thing, or you're enlightened or you're not, some binary thing. All right, scrap that. Open your mind, start meditating, start practicing, start awakening yourself. It's all possible, man. It's all possible. Okay, man, that is it for me. If you would like coaching, man, I do offer that. You can check out my website in the description. Otherwise, my brother, I hope you're enjoying the content, and peace.